Hi, everyone. This is Adam with Lang Specialty Trailers. I'm here with Phil and Nora Masterpolito with PNM Services out of Lincoln University, Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, a little background here. We asked Phil and Nora to join us for a brief interview. We very commonly get asked a lot of the same questions from clients that are considering getting into the industry. A lot of those questions are associated with, just simple business questions as far as, is it profitable? Am I going to get a good return on my investment? How much time is this going to take? Is this going to be a full-time job? Just very simple things like that. And as a sales team, we do our best to answer those questions, but sometimes I feel like it may not, feel as truthful coming from a guy who's trying to sell you trailers. So we asked Phil and Nora here, they're Lang customers since 2018, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
We asked them here to kind of go over their history, how they got into the industry. Even though it's been a long time since our first conversation, I still vividly remember a lot of the details and the really incredible story. I mean, you managed to put something together and break a lot of hurdles in order to get that business started that most people wouldn't have been able to. So the story, it resonates with me. I figured when we were trying to find somebody to do this, your name was like top of the list of a perfect candidate. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, anytime. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you wanted to start with your background as far as how you ended up getting into the business would be great.
Okay. Yeah. It's something that just kind of fell into our laps, really, in a sense. The idea, anyway. Obviously, physically doing it did not just fall into our laps. But I was a culinary arts major in college. Worked in restaurants for 16 years. Opened restaurants, catering companies, all that good stuff. Was time for a change. Moved over to the septic world, and then had a ton of free time, going from working like 70, 80 hours a week to working 40, and always had friends asking if the company I worked for rented out porta potties. So after the third or fourth person asked me, because they couldn't find anybody reliable around us, I figured, well, I'll do that, and started kind of running the numbers on buying enough porta potties to get the return that I would want for the weekend, and then having to buy a different truck and a trailer and a pump to be able to do it all myself. It was actually way more money than it would have been to just buy one trailer. So we started doing some research in that field and found out about the wet show. Went out to the wet show, actually with the person I was working for at the time. And I don't know if I ever told you this before, but I had an appointment with a different salesman for a different company.
Okay.
And I called him. I was standing in their booth and I called him. And he was in a parking garage or parking a car or something, and just didn't know when he was going to be able to make it up to meet me. And I had 3 conversations with him prior to that. So we kept walking around, and I saw the Pennsylvania tag on the trailer, which I was like, that's pretty cool. And just kind of walked around the trailer, reading the features, and you popped up around the corner and started talking. And I figured you were 4 hours away, and we really liked the trailer. So we started making moves on how to get it in our possession, which that was a whole other challenge. So, but just jump in whenever you want to. Just cut me off. It's okay. So a lot of the challenges came like financially for us. In 2014, we had our second kid, sold a house down at the beach, moved back up to PA. So we just bought that house in July of that year. And then in December or November of that year, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that, again, like challenges, which is what life's full of. You figure out how to get through it.
House poor, kid poor, and
Yeah.
medical
and
poor.
then actually poor. So yeah. So from trying to keep up with medical bills and specialists and stuff like that, I mean, we went through just about everything we had. I mean, even more than what we had. Credit cards were done, retirement funds were done, money was done, like everything we had was done. And it was around that time where we kind of focused on the switch from going from like the restaurants, like for me, having to leave to go to work when she was just out of surgery with a newborn and a 2-year-old running around wasn't ideal for me, especially when we didn't have any money. So we decided to make the switch, and it was pretty much every bank we spoke to told us to come back next year, come back next year, come back next year. I remember where I was sitting when I was talking to you when you and Steve offered to do a form of financing for us. And then I was after a softball game one night. I was having a conversation with my cousin and just telling him what we were going through, what we wanted to do. And he said, I'll buy it. So we put everything together, ended up buying the trailer, driving out, meeting you again, picking it up. And it was a very fast 6 years. It's hard to believe it's really, really, really hard to look back from where we started to where we are now.
Yeah. And buying that first one took a lot to get there to like buy it. And I remember when we picked it up and you said, you're going to need another one. And I was like, no, we're not. In my head, I'm thinking,
that's salesman.
No.
Right?
No, we're not. And sure enough,
it was pretty quick too, if I remember correctly.
It was less than a year. So what we bought that one, I think we got it home in like August of 2018, something like that. Had it moving around September with bookings here and there. And then going through that winter, we had lined up it was like a 3 or 4 month contract for a 2-station.
Yep.
So went to my second trade show ever down in Alabama that year and looked at the 2-station.
Yep.
And which I didn't have to go down there. I just kind of wanted to go anyway. Like, why not? Yeah, let's just go. So yeah, bought the 2-station, and then that was out, and then it just continues to build from there. So now we have 4 trailers, a bunch of porta potties, 2 pump trucks, showers, flushable porta. We have a little bit of everything. So
that's awesome. I mean, I remember the story. This is specifically what I remember when the banks were all telling you, nope.
Mm-hmm.
And the timing was just horrible. But, it was just 90% of the people in that situation would not have been able to pull it off. And you managed to do it, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah. We didn't. It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, there's always choices, but I kind of felt like we didn't really have a choice, like not moving forward with something like this or something positive that wasn't an option. Especially if someone tells me I can't do something, that's a problem too. So we're going to get it done now. So
that's a really awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. One of the questions that a lot of people kind of ask is similar to where you were. Some people have the idea that, I want to start this business. We're going to quit our job and start this restroom trailer business. We're going to start with one trailer. And I really do my best to kind of explain that, yes, you can make a lot of money with one trailer, but I don't know if it's unlikely that you're going to be able to support yourself and your family on the revenue from one unit.
Right.
So a lot of people ask, well, how am I supposed to have a restroom trailer and still have a job? What would you say on, like, is it feasible for someone to be working their full-time job and still beginning a restroom trailer rental company?
Yeah, I did it for 3 years. I believe it took me 3 years until right? Or even maybe even 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. 3.5 because we started in the middle of 18. Either way, something like that. Right. But so when we had the first trailer, I guess the hardest part is getting your name out there and people actually knowing that you have that to offer. And when we got our website set up and we did everything like I guess you could call it like the organic way and like build our SEO up over the course of a year. Now we sit at the top of the page if you search at least around us. And I lost my line there.
It is I'm talking about like, is it with having your full-time job, and I still work full-time outside of our business. But it's something that is doable, but it was also in building it was that steady income
Yes.
source to maintain like 2 full-time incomes. And then it was, I didn't feel like it was that much of an extra that we were like doing so much with the trailers. We were having a lot of business, but it wasn't taxing or stressful or, well, it was stressful, but like
so you'd say it wasn't an overwhelming amount of work to
right.
No, and it took a lot of pressure off actually having to build the business right away because it was basically a third like part-time income to start because I had my full-time job, she had hers. And it's like you got to look at the stuff that some people just don't look at. Like if your job has full coverage of insurance and you're going to leave that to go, like you better make sure you can afford your trailer and your food and your house and your insurance. Like it all kind of adds up. And at the time I was the one that was holding the insurance. So it was like, again, it wasn't really an option to leave the full-time job, but, and you just make it work. Like you have to work on the weekends. You have to go sit in the office after your full-time job. And if you're not willing to do that with one trailer and a full-time job, then it's, once your business does start to grow and bring in money and start to move the way you want it to, you're going to be doing that anyway. Same amount, you're spending the same hours. So,
and we did that with 2 trailers. And then once we got the third,
that's when it started.
That's when the kind of switch happened where it was like, okay, well, now it's
because we were busy.
Now it's becoming a full time.
We were very consistent at that point going through, and especially depending on where you live, like our seasons run from like pretty much May to early November. Like the busy season. We did stuff into January with trailers last year into this year. And like stuff sporadically through like February and March, but the bulk of the income is through that small stretch. And then
our season's definitely very different than some of our other customers.
It'd be amazing if we had 12 months of moving trailers. That'd be awesome.
Very different,
but also exhausting.
So based on what you kind of experienced, you would say somewhere between that 2 and 4, or probably 3 and 4 trailers is where you would have a hard time juggling a full-time job and
I
the
think
trailer business.
Leading up to that third, it was getting difficult. And I had flexibility in my job at that point too, that I could cut out a little bit earlier. I mean, I was an hourly employee for a septic company, and you just got to plan and communicate with your boss, and they'll you make it work. And then, like I said, like when we first started out, I didn't really have to do that first starting out because I wasn't crazy busy and I could move the trailer around. But looking back there, I would 100% do it exactly the same, the way that it happened this time. I would not leave unless I'm sitting on a pile of money already. I'm not leaving. I would not leave my full-time job because it almost takes the stress away from affording your business. It allows you the flexibility to grow your business over time than it would be if you were strapped and stressing over it right away.
Would you say, I mean, the obvious question with any business somebody would be starting is profitability. A lot of people ask, well, how quickly on average will I expect to see a return on buying this expensive trailer? Based on kind of what you've seen, even when you were still working a full-time job, and what was kind of your hope as far as when you would basically pay off each asset you buy?
I didn't know. Of all the work and all the planning I put into it, I was like, because it got it like I said, it went from a point to where it was like, I put together a business plan. I did all that kind of stuff. And then it got to the point where I was like, I just got to make this happen. It doesn't matter what happens at this point. Like, I'm going to make it happen. But I will say, as far as planning went on that front, I may not have been the best planner. I just knew that I was just going to make it work.
Yep.
But I think we had our trailer in July, August of that year. It started moving. I think we maybe did like around 10 or 12,000, something like that from September, which in 2 months to just start, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then that next year, I mean, we locked up it was about a $16,000 contract starting. I forget when that was. It wasn't freezing, so it was into the spring, I think. And that took us until about August or so. And then by that time, I was getting my name out there. Party planners are your best friends, by the way. I was meeting party planners and rental companies, and then they were using us other places. So I was able to start booking that trailer before it was even off that contract. Wow. And then once it came off, it was just going right back out again. And so then
close to less than a year was kind of what you experienced.
To bring money back in.
That's awesome. Yeah. Was that a mushroom? Wasn't it a mushroom farm the first
time? That was during COVID. Yeah. That was horrible, man.
I remember
that was also one of those things where it's like, just gotta, like, especially then, it's like, you got to figure out how to bring money in, because we were definitely sending a lot of money out, like when everything was closing down and canceling. But that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like when you have these things, what I took from that was seeing the range of what those trailers can do.
That's true.
It's not just a seasonal wedding thing. But we went to mushroom houses during COVID, went to the health department during COVID. Over the winter, we did like industrial like renovations. The reason why I bought our second trailer, was because they were remodeling their office building, and they set up a remote office in a warehouse and they needed bathrooms. So
it's a company that made wire.
Yeah. So it's like stuff like that. It was cool. It was cool to see what else they were used for. Yeah. I mean, I think we've had them out for almost everything you could imagine at this point. So
yeah, that's a really hard one we have to convey. Like, a lot of times everybody wants to buy like the fancy wedding trailer. And I get it, because when most of the time your first thought when you're thinking about getting into restroom trailers is, weddings and special events. And then people are always shocked when you start seeing things like the wire company and the mushroom farm. Like, those are the things that nobody really fills in the gaps on until you actually get that phone call, and then you start seeing that how much is out there.
Yeah, and you're like, crap, I gotta bring this fancy thing there. But that's kind of why, that's not kind of why. That's why I like your setup, because I just set up our 2018 5-stall that I bought from you first today, and it looks like it did the day I bought it. I mean, granted, we take care of it, but it's been out on many different applications, and you can dress it up with flowers and stuff like that for a wedding, and you can strip it down and put a plastic thing, a dial in, and bring it to a summer camp for kids, which we do over the summer. Same exact trailer, and we're going into our third year, and they haven't broken anything. Well, they broke a foot pedal off once. That was it. Over 6 months total. of summer camps, like that's all that's been broken, and that's a bunch of little kids. So
That's pretty awesome.
yeah, their little kids are almost worse than the adults. Well, actually, you know what? They're not.
No,
Never mind.
they're not.
Never mind. Yeah, never mind.
So I guess probably one of the last questions I would love for you to kind of convey to anybody that's thinking about it is, if someone came to you, and let's just assume they are nowhere near your market and you're going to give them good information.
Right. Right.
What advice would you give to somebody that was, you 5 years ago thinking about, I think I want to start a restroom trailer rental business?
Do it. Like, just do it. Like I said, like you mentioned, Southeastern PA is overly saturated, so you don't want to be here. But like also Northern Delaware, for that matter.
Those areas.
But now it's one of the best decisions that we've made and that we've ran with, because it's our foreseeable future. Like I can't imagine shifting to anything else at this point, and you get a chance to build relationships with people and neighboring companies. Don't be scared of neighboring companies. They can help you. I work closely with a couple of companies that are within like an hour or so around this, and we have a great relationship, which tells me that there's plenty of work out there for everybody. You don't have to be mean about it, I guess, if you can, for lack of better terms. And just like anything, if you have an idea, just do it. Know that there's going to be challenges. There's always challenges. If there's not challenges, then it's not worth it, and it's not going to get you what you want. But just keep pushing through and keep working hard, and everything will be ideal. Like, I mean, I think we started. I don't even want to say we started from the bottom. We started from the negative, and like we're doing okay. So
I'd say so. That's extremely helpful information. I can't thank you guys enough for sharing all that information. We've just really enjoyed working with you over the years, and I always enjoy seeing you at the trade shows and happy hours and dinners and all the fun stuff.
Yeah, we'll be back again this year.
Yeah, I look forward to it
at that point. But so yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us. It was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks again, guys. You have a wonderful night.
All right,
Thank you, you too.
All right, bye.